people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner, so he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. ¿Vos está pronto?
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
With Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Everybody now take a deep breath. Oh my God. It's just you. Can we appeal every once in a while? I feel it's necessary to maybe we should dim the lights in the studio and just, go ahead.
And let's breathe through our nose and out through our mouth. Now envision you are inhaling a beautiful cupcake and now blow out a candle. Yeah, join us on this voyage of happiness and tranquility.
What the freaking frack is happening, Ken? I'm sorry. Let's just roll over and play dead. How long do we play dead, Ken? Until we are dead? What?
You should check with your buddy Chuck Schumer.
I think I just broke a lot of blood vessels. We were on the air when this news came through about the continuing resolution. And, we posted information about reaching out to your legislators, obviously Schumer, Durbin, and the likes. And then, of course, I got these nasty messages. Oh, well, I guess you see that voting has consequences. This is the exact same continuing resolution that Schumer voted for in support of last year. It's the exact same. I'm like, okay, share your source. Don't first of all, calling me dumb. And that's we coming in hot, folks.
Well, and here's my thing when people engage with me in that way. Like, are you stupid? But okay, let's stop. Because I can call names too. Right. And we can both be wrong all day. Yeah. And
share your information so I can learn from you.
Like, let's be cool with the names, though, because I know names.
And I got something. I have no problem with any of the words.
I have no problem with the words. I'm not the bigger person, and I'm petty with a large vocabulary. Like, don't do this to yourself.
I'm saying, it is really, it's exhausting. Yeah, why? Don't step on this bear trap.
Yeah,
bear trap.
Don't do it.
You'll be stuck. You'll be caught. You'll be bleeding. I'm not going to help you. I know how to stop the bleeding.
Oh.
I know how to I'm not going to do it.
Because the next thing that's going to be, I am a citizen that just reached out to Ken or Patti and tried to help them. And, oh, my God, they are mean and they made me cry. Well,
seems like a self-inflicted wound.
Well, dear.
If we check the record.
Check the record.
Let me see.
You started this.
Exactly. Let me see where this Nimrod popped up. The Nimrods are coming in hot today.
Well, they come in hot every day.
That's true. But there's certain days that are more aggressive. So tell me what was your reaction to your post about this is the problem with not calling Democrats out on bad behavior and not.
So every time, sweet Jesus, every time I make a post about what Democrats should do better, someone always comes in the DMs and said, ooh, my Southern accent came out for a moment, and says, that's how you know I'm about to be very honest. And to something to the effect of, we all have to unite and we have to stick together and we shouldn't be attacking Dems. We should be going after Republic. Here's my thing.
We can do both.
When you can do both, but if you have to look at it like sports. If I am playing for the Chicago Bulls and I'm trying to ascertain how to make the Chicago Bulls better, the only way to do that is to look at the Chicago Bulls and say, okay, what can we do for our defense? What can we do for our offense? How can we you can't go, how do we make the Bulls better? Well, if the Golden State Warriors would just stop getting the ball in the hoop, we would be fine.
This is such a good analogy.
And that's the problem with some of the Dems. Every time you offer something, it's like, but what about the Republican? I'm not a Republican, so I don't know about their game plan, nor do I want to improve it. I am a Democrat. I want to improve ours. And if you are, as I said yesterday, a part of any organization that you cannot call out for doing bad things, or you can't give them critiques to do better, then you're in a cult.
Yes.
I'm not in a cult. So I can easily say, Chuck Schumer, what are you doing?
Yes.
Dick Durbin, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I can do that.
Well, it's funny. So we were listening today. Steve's trying to, my husband, we have these conversations all the time. It's funny. Like back in, I want to say when President Obama was first running, even in the primaries. Yeah. Like Steve was all in. And Steve was like, I told him like, go get a job with like Gallup or like, cause he was looking at the numbers and the polling and all that stuff. And he would be yelling about stuff. And I'm like, I agree with you. Stop yelling. Yes. Right. He was very passionate about it. So Steve is super smart when it comes to all this stuff. So he's trying to not get in the mind of Schumer, but so here's the question, I guess, to your point about, a lot of folks are saying either lead or follow other Democrats or get out of the way.
Right. And the problem is, we could do this for an hour. The problem with especially the establishment Democratic Society is they won't lead, but they won't get out of the way. They don't want to get in the mud. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They want everything to be unified and harmonious and peaceful. And I mean, so do the rest of us, but that harmony and that unity ends at the very moment you start throwing the trans community under the bus, the black and brown community under the bus, women under the bus, single moms who need things under the bus, our elderly under the bus. I don't want to be unified with anybody if it means throwing my principles under the bus. So... sorry, unity's not a number one thing for me, though.
We talked yesterday, right? Well, because you and I have experiences from the inside of this political party in Illinois, the Democratic Party in Illinois, both Cook County and statewide. Yes. And one of the things that I think we both learned was what they say, we believe in inclusion and we want to uplift.
It's not what they do.
It's not what they do.
No.
And on the broader scale, we know, if we go back and look at the moments in time when we had the opportunity to codify things like Roe v. Wade, right? Yep. But to my point yesterday about those mailers, which the other part that makes me angry about being called discussing extremists who wouldn't support abortion rights is part of why I think they did not codify. It was like, how do they keep raising money? How do they keep scaring people if the thing that people are afraid of, right, is taken care of? If it is considered a human right.
Well, and I don't want to get my Dem card taken away from me, but I'm sure somebody has already filed legislation to do that. So I'm going to say it. I think in the world, in this sphere, without the Democratic Party, the Republican Party would still exist. And we see that because even when they win, they are still angry as cats behind a dryer. Like, they're just angry. And if you've never heard a cat stuck behind a dryer, they are angry. I think the Democratic Party, however, without the Republicans, I think we would cease to exist. I think what would happen is the Democrats would break off into different parties. So
interesting.
I say that not to put anyone down or put anyone on a pedestal. I say that to say Democrats exist in the realm of fixing things that are broken.
Yes.
As opposed to legislating and leading. Republicans exist in a realm to do stuff. They want to do everything that I don't want to do.
To impose things.
Yes. But I also think Republicans, they do want to build this world that none of us that are listening to this program probably want to live in, but they want to build it. And I had a great analogy, and I can't remember where I got it from, and I hate stealing it, but the Republican Party is kind of like that aunt or uncle when you're a kid. They offer to take you. Well, they tell you, I have the money to take you to Disney World. I don't want to go to Disney World. It doesn't seem like the happiest place on earth to me, so I'm not going. That's the Republican Party. The Democratic Party are that same aunt and uncle that say, I want to take you. I just don't have the money, maybe next year. And 20 years later, I still ain't going to Disney World. So with either party, I'm not getting to Disney World. But at least one party is honest about the fact, I could take you there. I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm. And the other party could have started a savings account.
Yes.
Dedicated to taking you to Disney World.
It's like, well, we can go next
Put the effort
year.
in.
But right now, in this cycle, what's important is ... And then we wait. And then the next cycle, well... What's important now is ... So I'm never going to be important. So I just think, and when we look at this and we look at the numbers coming out of places like Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, you see that there are more people that are starting to pick up on the fact that we don't matter.
There it is.
So we have the problem.
We have the problem.
And now I'm not going to sit here on this program and tell the Dems how to fix it because I'm not getting paid for that anymore. But I can tell you what the problem is, and I can tell you what the road is to get there. And Chuck Schumer ain't the way.
And that's the thing. So I know that listeners have been frustrated over the last few weeks. I have not been really diving into what I wish Democrats would do or what I'm angry about. But I'm angry about.
I'm angry.
And so it exposes the problem of leadership in the Democratic Party.
Who's
at a
leading
level,
the Democratic Party?
Exactly.
Who is in charge?
Yeah, who is in charge?
Who's driving this bus?
Apparently even Nancy Pelosi. It's funny because I can't. I'm not a huge fan of Bernie Sanders necessarily. What he stands for, yes.
Okay.
Some of the mechanisms by which he operates on, I find only because I think that I respond in a personal, visceral way rather than a logical, he's right kind of way. Do you know what I mean? I know he's right.
Yes.
But some of the things along the way, and because I wasn't all in on Bernie. I never was.
Same.
Right. But I do see him holding the line and being fierce in the face of this.
And going where he's supposed to go.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Democrats. I love that we're doing a rainbow tour in Chicago and New York and LA. That's awesome. Get to Nebraska. Get to Louisiana.
Yes.
Get to Mississippi. I don't need y'all here. We got it.
Have you,
why are you here?
Have you seen this woman in her car? It's so funny. I know I need to start doing more social media because this is really where people are connecting and sharing stories. And there's something I want to talk about later and hope I remember. But I don't know if you know. Yes, thank you, Tizzy Ent. I don't know if you follow Tizzy Ent. He's kind of a social. If people capture someone being racist or somewhat violent, he says, "Who is this person?" and helps track them down and it's great. And only the one that he just had was epic. But at any rate, there's a woman in her car, as most people are, doing their, talking to the camera thing. Does anyone care about Nebraska? Have you seen this one? She cusses a little bit. Does anyone effing care about Nebraska? And a slew of people.
Well, does anyone though?
And everyone's like, no.
I care.
We should wear Melania's jacket.
Well, at the end of the day, where else are you going to get a nice hot bowl of chili with a hot cinnamon bun outside of Nebraska?
You mean at the airport? I don't know. Where do you get the chili and cinnamon?
Nebraska's their thing.
Is it really?
Google
Ohio
it.
has good.
No, but
chili.
I mean together.
Oh, together. Do they put the chili on the cinnamon?
Well, you dip.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let's back this train up. Google it.
Now you know how much I care about Nebraska.
They put the chili with the cinnamon bun, the hot fresh cinnamon bun, and guess what? It ain't so bad.
Look, and when I say I don't care about, I kind of need to taste that.
I'm not making that up.
And cinnamon. Look, I put cinnamon in my chili sometimes. So
that's why it goes good together.
It's
a nice hot fresh cinnamon roll with a nice bowl of chili.
I kind of need that in my life now.
It is. I think that's their state food. I don't want to put words in it, but I know it's very popular.
I think we would care more if we knew that.
Well, that's what
we would
I'm
pay more
here
attention.
for.
Yeah, I think.
Because guess what? Ken Mejia Beale goes where the Republicans are, so I know what they eat in Nebraska.
I mean, I've been there. I've been to Kearney. I've been to Omaha. I travel as a comic through there.
You've never done it?
I bought a guitar in Kearney with all intents of learning how to play. The calluses never really worked out for me. Anyway.
Well,
at any rate,
you should try that this weekend. Fresh cinnamon roll with chili.
I feel like I'm not going to do that.
You're not. That's what's funny. I know every time I talk about it, no one ever does it.
I don't think I'm going to do that. Ken Mejia Beal joins us in the studio. He's a treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org to learn about their mission. Absolutely. We're going to talk more about the great work that they do. Coming up on the show, we have some folks coming in who are running for office. They're going to be in studio with us. Who do we have coming in?
We have the York Township slate. And York Township is located in DuPage County, Illinois. And we had...
we have Tim Murray and Engy Suth.
I don't think her last name is... I think isn't it Sutherland?
Oh, it might have been cut off in the typing.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Engy is going to be in studio, who works for Blue Cross Blue Shield. They approve more procedures than my previous healthcare provider.
Yay for insurance companies doing what they should.
Oh, my God. At any rate.
That came out very condescendingly, and I apologize.
Coming up later. And Al Rago.
Rago. That sounds
right. That right. It sounds right. I know. We'll find out soon.
I don't know.
But they're coming in soon. And we also are going to have Dan Shafer from the Recombobulation Area coming in. Not coming in, but he'll be on the phone to recombobulate with us. God, yes. So much recombobulating. We want to thank our sponsors making these conversations possible. Of course, Peter and Warren were in studio with us on Monday. That podcast is available on heartlandsignal.com. Just scroll on down. You can see previous shows. Source Solar. Go to source.solar to find out about the great work that they do. Man, we've had such a great response, not just to the their support of the show and having these conversations, but also the great work that they do. Over 100,000 happy customers throughout the Chicagoland area. So go to source.solar. We also want to thank Kirk Banks at Monaco Brewing Company. Ooh, you should come to Madison with us on March 25th. Road trip. I'm already going to be there. I'm doing a Wisconsin tour. I'm going up and door knocking on a Sunday, and then I'll be I think I'm going to be in Walworth, and then I'll be in Madison. My husband's listening, just learning about this just now.
Well, I just looked at my
poor man.
I looked at my calendar, and all it says is date night. So maybe I can cancel a date night.
Well, bring him with is all I'm saying. Maybe go.
I could.
Madison's beautiful.
That would be too much fun for you, though. You guys would have too much fun.
Please let me have some fun. There's a rest. Do you like seafood? Okay. So there's a place called Sardine. My friend.
I'm a pescatarian.
Their Vesper. Have you ever had a Vesper? Well, I know weird. I don't know if you're drinking cocktails still, but anyway, their food is great.
Okay.
The ambiance is great. I was sitting at the bar with this woman. The mussels. Oh my God.
I love mussels.
Come on now. I had mussels. I had oysters. I had all.
Oh, I love oysters.
I had crispy. I had so many things. So good. Okay, so
yes.
Madison, Wisconsin is where
I'm. I used to live there. So I was in Fitchburg. I lived in Fitchburg for a year. I love the Madison area. There's a really nice bar that I would take you to. It's a leather bar. We can go.
We're going out. Steve, I'm not going to be home that night. I'm not going to be home that night. Anyway, so I'm staying the night in Madison. So go to MonacoBrewingCompany.com and learn about the great work that they do. The Madison Tap Room is now Nerve Central for the resistance. They're coordinating with indivisible organizations throughout Wisconsin, and also subscribe to their newsletter. I wrote a piece called Solidarity, Not Surrender, in contrast to what Newsom and Rahm Emanuel out there talking about. We do not throw human rights under the train just to get power.
Correct.
Also want to thank our friends at Are You Really Winning? That's the way back in. March is Gambling Awareness Month. If you or someone you love is struggling with a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. Or you can visit areyoureallywinning.com. And our friends at Kids Above All support their mission to make sure kids live happy, healthy, safe lives. Go to kidsaboveall.org. And don't forget, we do have a stand-up comedy show coming up in June. We don't know which date. It's either going to be the 5th or the 12th. It'll be featuring me and comedian Paul Farvar, and I think there's a neighbor, if you're listening right now, you know who you are, Joe. Let me know if you're available one of those 2 days. I think Joe would be a good addition to that show. And anyway, let's take a break here, and we'll continue the conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We're in studio with guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal. We'll be right back.
The Randy Rhodes Show.
Oh, congratulations to the Fox and Friends weekend morning host, who's now our Secretary of Defense. He's a veteran, everybody. I know, I'm a veteran too. I'm pretty sure I wasn't on any of Kamala's short list for any cabinet position, but oh my God, these picks, it's almost like, well, there's a word for it. It's called patronage. Right here, right now on WCPT 820, weekdays 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete.
And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Thank you all so much for joining us. That's going to need more explanation later. Off-air conversations will never be broadcast.
That was a sour face.
And yet, greatly appreciated. Ken Mejia Beal joins me in the studio. He's a treasurer for Youth Outlook. That's youth-outlook.org. And in a little bit, we'll talk more about the work that they do and how you can... Well, actually, tell folks.
What we do is we provide resources, especially mental resources for LGBTQ youth and their families, so their parents, is very important in today's day and age. We are taking in an influx of young people. So please go to youth-outlook.org. Invest in dignity, invest in confidence, invest in self-esteem. That's what we do.
I love that.
And it's the great love of my life. I've accomplished a lot in my life, and you know that, Patti.
Well, as the member of
this is the best thing I've ever done in my whole life.
And Ken is a member of the Illinois Hall of Fame, the LGBTQ plus Hall of Fame, newly inducted last year,
which is also amazing. But doing the work with the kids, it gives me something that awards don't give you or politics don't give you. And what it gives you is an insight into what your future will look like.
Oh, I love that.
And I love that.
We need to do more of that.
Yes, we do.
And we need to start taking some calls because they've been on hold for a while.
Yeah.
You and I've been yapping.
Is my friend Jim out there?
Jim, we're taking your calls in the order they've been received. Jim from Chicago, what's on your mind? My friend, you're on with me and Ken.
You guys batten down the hatches because there's supposed to be a gale to blow it away. So anything valuable, tie it down. Tonight's supposed to be But anyway, I think about St. Patrick's Day. I came home from the hospital. My parents had me all dressed in green on St. Patrick's Day. I was born on the 12th.
I missed your birthday. Wait, that was Wednesday. Jim, happy belated birthday.
Happy belated birthday, Jim.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. It's 75. I've never been kissed. I've never been kissed, so I'm looking forward to it one of these days. But I just think of St. Patrick. St. Patrick was the first Homo sapien in history to put in literature that slavery was an evil. Now, that's the 5th century. And the Irish outlawed slavery. Frederick Douglass came to Dublin to meet Daniel O'Connell, which is O'Connell Street in Dublin, to plead for slavery in the United States. And he accepted them willingly. And when you think of the Irish in politics in the United States, a good example is Frank Tumulty was Wilson's campaign manager. And his first wife died, and his second wife that he married said, I can't stand that Irishman. Plus, he's a Catholic on top of it. So she hated him. She hated him. But Wilson said, if I don't have Frank, my odds of winning aren't too good. And also, Jim Farley was FDR's campaign manager for years. And if you were a Catholic, you couldn't get elected in Ohio till after World War II. And the discrimination against Catholics was amazing. Now we got two great churches, and we got Old St. Pat's in the South Loop, built by Irish immigrants. And I don't know if you guys ever been to Manhattan, St. Patrick's Cathedral. You can't miss that. That's Irish immigrants that built that. And it just, to be a different United States without the Irish. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for sharing that about St. Patrick, because I think we all have the mythology of St. Patrick driving the snakes from Ireland.
Yes.
But so Patrick was abducted in the 5th century. He was by the Roman Empire. A band of Irish marauders crept into a secluded cove and raided a village of Benavern Tabernet. I'm sure I'm saying all those wrong. But he was 16 years old, and he was brought to Ireland against his will. And he was, I believe he was enslaved for 6 years and would pray. And the story is that an angel appeared to him in a dream. You have fasted well. Very soon you will return to your native country. So at any rate, I don't know this whole story, but there's a reason why St. Patrick is held up as the patron saint, even though technically I believe Declan, my son's name, the saint he's named after, was actually the first saint. And at any rate, I might have that all wrong because I'm only half. And
I know nothing about this, so I'm just being quiet.
Yeah. So at any rate, he became a missionary. He asked for an assignment as a missionary. When he was returned to his home, he asked for an assignment to missionary, and he learned the island's language and customs and fought against slavery.
Beautiful.
So there you go. I didn't know anything about that either.
I know very little.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Roosevelt's on the line. Hey, Roosevelt, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hello, Roosevelt.
Hello, guys. Thank you for taking my call.
Are you hydrating?
Oh, I'm hydrating on my beer.
Yay!
We take that as a...
Yay!
I'm having a couple of beers.
Good for you.
A couple of tecates.
Nice.
Oh, those are
do you put lemon and salt in yours? Because I do.
Yeah, from time to time. It depends. Like, if it's a bottle, I'll do it. But if it's a can, I really don't do it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. They're so inexpensive compared to other beers. Anyway.
Yep. Guys, I want to agree and disagree with you, Ken.
Specifically Ken.
Roosevelt. Wow, come on. No, I'm joking.
Okay, where I want to add to what you said is this. You forgot to mention one thing about Dems. Let me tell you why we're in the business we're in of having this mango chupado, which means prune mango, or as president. The one thing you didn't mention is the fact that I believe Obama should have gone after Bush for the weapons of mass destruction, and it should have been an investigation because there was a lot of lives lost, a lot of hardship, and then he started a war, unnecessary war, 2 wars or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So I believe that that's one of the things, and we're learning our lesson now because this guy is on a revenge presidency.
Absolutely.
He's going to go after. So that's the opposite of what Dems are. And let's go back even further than that. The problem is this. One of the problems is no longer are we in the norm. What do I mean by that? Everything you said, the analogy of sports is a great analogy, but I could give you an analogy right back. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the Houston Astros scandal? So there's an analogy. They didn't pay a price. No, okay, they were stealing. Yeah, they were stealing signs. So they became champions. Do you remember the inflating ball?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember the Sean Payton New Orleans scandal?
Do
you remember that one?
Yes, I do. Yes.
The bounty. Okay.
The bounty.
So there's an analogy right back. What do I mean by that? I mean the Republicans and the Democrats played by different rules.
Yes.
And can you honestly say that Kamala Harris lost this election when you had a guy named Elon Musk 3 weeks before the election giving an interview to Trump, and they were both applauding the fact that he fired employees. So, plus, not to mention the $270 million that he gave to Trump, he came out of nowhere. I personally, this is just my opinion, I don't know how Patti and you feel. I was surprised twice, shocked, that this country would elect this guy again. I said, there's no way, when he was 34 felonies and he was guilty on 34 counts. So I said, I would have bet my house, and I'm a bettor. I would have lost my house, but I cannot say that they played fair, because if it was the Democrats getting a rich guy to give $270 million and him owning Twitter, he controlled the media, and then he had personal meetings or by phone with Putin. So there was a triangle of people that were in the plot, in the plan. That's how they won this election. I was shocked that Kamala Harris didn't win. I don't know what Patti feels, especially the way she worked so hard, and she thought the way, remember your shows, Patti? Mm-hmm. We thought for sure she was going to win. Everything was leaning towards that. All the signs were there. And it happened to us prior with Hillary Clinton. So remember the emails that he didn't play by the rules. Trump didn't play. There are no rules anymore.
Roosevelt,
there are no rules.
I do want
wait, let me say.
Sure.
Can I say just one more thing?
Absolutely.
What about in this past election with Harris and Trump? What about all those votes that were thrown out in the southern states? What about all those votes where you had Republican governors that rigged it up so that a lot of minorities didn't get to vote or made it difficult or closed polling places? What about that? Was that playing fair? That's precisely my analogy with the sports. There are times when nobody pays the price. And Trump didn't pay the price. Bush didn't pay the price. Nixon didn't pay the price. And let's not forget Reagan, what he pulled with Jimmy Carter. So there's my analogy towards you as far as no longer are the elections fair and square. No longer does one side play by the rules. And that's, I hate to say this, but there is no Republican Party, but I always mention that. And people agree, people that don't. It's Trump's party. It's not a Republican Party.
Well, here's the thing. I don't actually disagree with you. I do strongly believe that you are right. Republicans do not play fair, and I've acknowledged that. But here's the thing: if the Democrats want to win, it's not about playing fair. We have to play the game that that the Republicans are playing. And that's been my only complaint. And I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I was here with Elliot, and the analogy was when the Republicans have the golden retriever out playing basketball and the Democrats are on the sideline going, dogs can't play basketball. No, wrong. Dems, put out our dogs. Like, we have to play the game that everyone else is playing.
None of it's fair.
But we want to play the fair game. We want to take the high road. I think where I'm a little bit different, Roosevelt, is I no longer want to take the high road. I want to win. And I want to do what's right by the American people. And I think we all need to start worrying about the disadvantaged in this country that really lose big time when we try to play fair with cheaters and liars and saboteurs.
Thank you so much for calling, Roosevelt.
Thank you, Roosevelt.
I have to go because I'm now late. We have guests waiting in the green room, and we're running behind a little bit. Thank you, Roosevelt. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation with our friends from York Township, correct? These are the candidates.
Yes, York Township.
We're very excited because these local races are what impact you every single day.
Every day.
Guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal joins me in studio. More after this on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal. Mm-hmm.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Megan Mulford. A wind advisory. A red flag warning remains in effect. A high wind warning begins at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Severe thunderstorms likely tonight, otherwise overcast skies. Lows around 57. South winds 20 to 25 miles an hour. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow. Highs level off around 65. Slight chance for rain showers becoming mixed precipitation. Tomorrow night, 34. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently 79.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Out Chicago.
I'm saying it again. Equal rights for others does not mean less rights for you. It does not.
People are insecure. It's horrible.
But if you could hear my voice and you voted for this, just think about, how does gay marriage affect your life? It does not make any sense. It does not make any sense.
Cash Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversey Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal joins me in studio, and we often talk about how important local elections are, Ken.
The most important.
Right. I mean, these are the people that are in your community who you need to hold accountable. They need to see you on the playground, at the grocery stores, at church, and that's how that really is how you get things done in your own communities. Joining me in studio are Engy. Engy, what's your last name?
Sutherland.
Sutherland. So yes, wonderful to meet you. Thank you for coming in studio. I know it's a hike, so thank you all for joining us. We also have Tim Murray. So Engy is running for trustee in York Township. Whose microphone? What is happening? That was Tim. I thought you were like tapping on it. Did you hear that? I was like, what?
I was like, Tim's moving stuff, but I'm not a snitch.
I thought he was giving himself his own drum roll. He's like, I'm Tim Murray. I'm running for trustee.
That was Morse code.
And Al Rago. I've heard it both ways.
Al Rago.
Al, swing that between. Al, you don't have to he's like leaning over. Al Rago. Nice to meet you all.
Just trying to get to the microphone.
Al's running also for trustee. So Engy, let me start with you. Sure. First of all, where'd you grow up, my friend?
So I grew up in unincorporated Maine Township.
Oh.
So yes,
by here.
Yes, yeah, I did grow up really close to this area, and it was a great place to grow up. It's super diverse. My parents are Egyptian, so they immigrated here in the early 80s, and I grew up amongst many other first-generation Americans from literally all over the world. So my best friend growing up was Filipino. I had another friend from Mexico. I mean, it was wonderful. But then I went to University of Illinois, and then
ILL. Sorry,
yes, INI. Yeah, we got L too. Lived in Connecticut for a few years, then came back to Chicago, and I actually lived in Norwood Park, so very close to here for about 6 years.
I feel like you've been following me everywhere except for maybe Maine Township and York. I grew up in Norwood on Northwest Highway and Niagara. It's a long story, but at any rate, so what took you out to York Township?
So in the pandemic, we wanted to move to the suburbs, and we landed on Elmhurst. And Elmhurst is in York Township. Part of Elmhurst is in Addison Township, but the south of North Avenue is in York. Mm-hmm. And we lived there almost 5 years. We love it there. Love the community. It's been a great 5 years so far.
And what has led you to public service? Was your family involved in politics and government, or
no, not at all? So because my parents were immigrants, they weren't citizens until later in life. Everyone is a citizen now, but I just always assumed that the right people will always take care of us, and they always have our best interests in heart. I know, I was so naive. So naive.
No, I was the same.
Yeah.
I think we all were at one point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Like, surely these folks know what they're doing.
Oh, right. And, being a first-generation immigrant, and I went to Egypt for a summer when I was 10, and it was very transformative because when I came back, it made me truly appreciate what we had here. As like a young girl and wanting a life of my own when I got older and being, having great schools nearby, like I just felt I was so privileged to live in the United States, and it was literally like the best country in the world. Over time, I grew up and realized that sometimes people in office don't have our best interests at heart. And, they have other, agendas that don't share our values. And so it's kind of funny. I lived in Ravenswood for a couple of years before we moved to Norwood, and a high school classmate was alderman. Amaya Pewar was a senior when I was a freshman in high school. And so to me, it was like, wait a minute, the people running for local office are just people like you and me. They're not these superheroes. They're just regular people that want the best for the community. And so I got my feet wet a little bit when I ran for local school council for Norwood Park School, and I was a elected member for 4 years. Yeah.
Having grown up there, that's a complicated area.
Oh, yes, it is. It is very complicated. But I loved serving the community. I was a secretary for our board. I ran for 2 terms, and literally until the day we moved, I was on the board of I was on the LSC.
So the reason I react that way is I went to Onahan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I had to transfer out because when they hold your face down on the pavement and force feed you garbage because you're the only Mexican in the school. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I dropped when my son went to the academic center at Taft, he did it before they had the freshman center and the academic center separately. I remember pulling up to the building and going, I like my whole body tensed up because I was like, the kids that I went to school with are now the parents of these kids, and it was accurate. Yeah. Like when Tammy Duckworth won, when Trump won and Tammy won, somebody said in his class, I can't believe, I can't use the words,
oh God,
Asian gimp won, and the first word is not Asian, which it's a very so you have been sort of like in the sort of complicated situation where Turning Point was trying to have a student group there. If you're not familiar, Turning Point basically like the national, what's the CPAC? It's basically a CPAC for teenagers. Yep, holy cats, you've been through something.
Oh yeah. There, right before I left, there was plans to hold like a the universal preschool that Chicago had passed, and they wanted to have a centralized preschool at Norwood Park School, and there was a huge meeting about it. Like I want to say WBEZ was there reporting on it, and like the people were angry because they didn't want kids from other neighborhoods to come to preschool in our precious Norwood Park.
Got it. Yeah. Anxiety attack. So if you're not familiar with the Blue Line, so the Blue Line, was extended to O'Hare Airport like in 1985-ish, right? So if you take a look, the stops, there's a huge gap between Jefferson Park all the way to Harlem. There should have been a stop at Nagel, but they didn't want kids from other communities that were already coming to Taft to have access to public transportation. Anyway, so we'll talk about other things. So what I'm saying is, for folks who live in York Township, here is somebody who has basically been singed by the fire of people who are NIMBYs, who are not in my community. There's a lot of history with Norwood, so I want to make sure that I don't mean to react so viscerally, but she made me in my feels, is all I'm saying. Tim Murray also running for supervisor. So Tim, tell him, I'm just for everybody, I promise. Where did you grow up, my friend?
Grew up in the southwest side, Oak Lawn.
Okay.
So
I was very close to that.
Where at?
I'm like Auburn Grisham, so right on the other side of the tracks.
Sure. The youngest of 4, and my little story of my father coming to me when I was a sophomore and saying, "Hey, I'm going to retire as soon as you graduate from high school."
Oh.
And that happened. And so I learned very quickly what life was about. But I really fell into the food service industry as a chef.
Oh my goodness!
First starting out as a cook, and I moved out to California.
You did?
Yeah.
Holy cats!
Yeah.
All right.
It was great. I was so young and really didn't know any better, but I knew I had a chef here and when I was in high school, I was already working in the industry.
Sure.
Chef says to me, Tim, go out to California. What they're doing is 5 years, 10 years ahead of what we're doing.
Fair.
So that's back in the 80s, by the way. And in fact, that's what happened. So I went out, became an apprentice, went through a formal education there, had enough with me to get an associate's degree, which at the time that was abnormal for somebody working in the kitchen. And I always kind of tell a story that's where I kind of understood the difference between Republicans and Democrats, because in Oak Lawn, it was an entire Democratic just atmosphere. I mean, my friend's mom was a manager of a campaign. And could remember the night when, they won, the excitement of it and everything else. And guess what? That was the primary. That wasn't the election.
Right.
So, back in the day, that was just so strong of an area that I knew no better. And California kind of opened my eyes to this democratic process, if you will, but still working, never really found myself into politics. Worked throughout Florida, worked throughout the Caribbean, spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, different islands, raised kids, kind of found my way to the Lombard area, the York Township area, and really love it there. I'm in a unique little area that's affectionately called the co-op. It was originally a formal co-op where people did not own the land. It was owned by the co-op. They owned the house, but not the land.
Interesting. All right.
A very rich kind of culture of community, which is a democratic, characteristic, ideal. And Al, myself, and another trustee, Ilsa, serve on the board right now. It is now a more of a social group, if you will, but we serve on that board, and that's really where I came into serving to the public.
And now you're running for supervisor.
Yes.
How long have you been a trustee?
Have not been a trustee, just a supervisor.
I was
just mentioning Ilsa's another
folks.
trustee that belongs to the co-op group.
And how long have you been a supervisor?
I'm just a candidate.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to put it all together.
Just a candidate.
I know.
I'm joking.
And here's the interesting fact.
I'm trying to put together all these connections that you have with the community, and I love that.
Thank you. In York Township, there has not been a Democratic leadership.
Hello.
Since 1870, the inception of the township.
Yeah.
Right.
I think in the records, there's only one person that was a Democrat that ever became part of the office. So we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because along with Addison, who you had in here, Milton, Downers, we all have a chance at blue in this election.
Amazing. I mean, DuPage County has done so much
We just
work.
need people to vote.
Yes.
It's spring break. We need people to vote.
Absolutely.
The voters are there.
Well, you bring up a good point. Now, swing that microphone towards Al.
You touch it out.
You got Al. Hi, Al. Rago.
Hi, Patty. Yeah, you got it.
I got it.
Yeah.
Fourth
happens
try.
all the time.
I'm just saying, Al. So, Al, tell me, where'd you grow up, my friend?
I grew up here in Chicago. I was born in Chicago.
What neighborhood?
I moved out to Naperville before Naperville was Naperville. Right.
Oh.
So when it was just subdivisions and cornfields.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You make it sound like when the horses would bring out
Well,
the
yeah,
seed.
it was. And we used to walk to school uphill in the snow. No shoes.
Yes.
Come on now.
No. I grew up in Naperville, went to high school there, went to University of Illinois, ILL.
I.
Yep, there we go.
I lived in Allen Hall for 2 years and then in Urbana or Champaign for.
I was a frat boy, which of course my wife always shakes her head at me whenever she hears that.
I was GDI.
She was too.
All right.
Proudly so.
GD independent.
Oh,
yeah. Where did you? So which frat?
Delta Sigma Phi.
All right, I've been to a couple of those parties.
The house isn't there anymore.
I'm still recovering from some of those parties.
They were great parties. We have great parties.
That's why it's not there anymore.
Yes, we did.
You guys weren't the ones that were busted for growing your own products. Were you there? I was there at 89 and 93.
Oh, okay. I was there before that.
Okay.
I was there from...
It was a house that was closed.
That was a good answer.
I'm okay. I don't care how...
For that.
If people can... I'm 62, so I was there in 81 to 85.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Just predated you slightly.
What did you study at U of I?
Mechanical engineering. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right.
A lot of fun. Had a lot of fun.
Same.
Yeah. Got married, had kids, moved to Elmhurst. That's when I started living in York Township. So all my kids grew up in Elmhurst schools like Engy's are doing now. And I didn't even know there was a York Township government.
This is what I'm learning.
This is the whole thing.
Yes.
Right? I didn't know it until a couple of years ago. Started going to some meetings, and the way that these people run the township drove me crazy. They get about $10 million a year, right, from our taxes, and it is so difficult to try and figure out what they're doing with that money. They do everything they can to obscure their processes. There's a lot of skullduggery going on over there, right? So,
mark this, Paul Shivari. This is the first time anyone said skullduggery on the show. I just wanted you to know. I've been here for 3 years. Mark the moment. Go ahead, skullduggery.
I don't even know what that word means.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. Shenanigans. Okay.
Only much more severe.
Got
I think.
it. Okay.
Yes.
Grown-up version of shenanigans.
Got it. Okay.
So we're very unhappy with that, and that's why I'm running. We want to make some changes. Like we said, Republicans have run the township since it was founded. We want to make some changes. We would like to change the way things are and focus on the people and providing services. That's really what we want to do.
So what caught your attention when it came to the Board of Trustees in York Township? You said it was a couple of years ago.
How much time do we have?
Let me take a break here. You know what? We can take a break if you want, because I'm late. I'm going to keep you after 6 because, first of all, you drove all the way here. Second of all, you're all freaking fascinating, just like our guests from Addison Township. I kept them for a while, so I need to keep this going. So many fantastic things. We are talking to our friends who are running for Board of Trustees, and Tim Murray's running for supervisor, and our friends Engy Sutherland and Al Rago are running for trustees of York Township, right? York Township?
York Township.
You can go to yorkdemocrats.org to learn more about all of them. Also, yourvoiceforyork.com. York Township, for those who are wondering if they live in those communities, first of all, find out! Second of all, if you live in DuPage County, what includes York Township are all of or parts of Elmhurst, where Doty Liquors might be located, Carrie Monaco Brand Company products. Lombard, famous liquors. Yep. Villa Park, Oakbrook Liquors. Also Downers Grove, Glen Ellen, Hinsdale, and Westmont. So let's talk more about this. We'll have only a couple minutes when we come back, so I want to find out more about the moment that you found out, and then we're going to talk about all the things, also off the air, on the air, all the things. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We'll have like 1 minute, so okay, I screwed it up.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
I don't know you, but I'm willing to bet that you've got a fair amount of stress. Stress can manifest in a lot of different ways, and the crazy thing is sometimes you might not even realize you're stressed. Your symptoms could include obvious things like increased anger or irritability, but also could include headaches, a fast heartbeat, abdominal cramps. One great way to reduce stress is something known as forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku in Japanese. It does not involve actual bathing, but rather spending time outdoors in nature. No doom scrolling, no music, no work calls. Instead, focusing on your 5 senses, what you see and hear and smell and taste, and what you can touch. If you're feeling ambitious, you can get some exercise in as well. One of the best things you can do for your overall health is to get outside, and it's even better if you can do it with a friend. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth. Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Got a felony. You got a felony. Man, your road looks rough ahead. Gonna be miles and miles away from your bed. The judge's words repeating in your head. Boy, you got a felony. Yeah, you got a felony. Got a felony. You got a felony. Got in trouble. Man, you screwed. There isn't anything that they can do for you. You'll be in jail and see your sentence through, 'cause you got a felony.
So I realize that even trying to start another conversation with our guest before we go to the break would be it would just wouldn't work, Ken. I'm just saying we have to go ahead and take a break. Yeah, but swing that microphone over here. So before we go to the break, Ken, we're talking to the candidates from York Township.
Yeah.
And I want to remind folks how important these races are.
Very important.
Yeah.
Words are not coming to my head.
Okay.
The problem
I threw this at you.
The problem is that folks think that their congressman does everything.
That part.
And it's like, I called my congressman about a stop sign, and they told me that's not what they do. And it's like, because that's not what they do.
Then tell them where to go.
But no one does. So,
I know.
But you have to. Your township is so important because those are those little annoyances that can really get you down. Mm-hmm. And folks need to know where you can go to get satisfaction in your government.
And justice.
Yes,
right?
you have to know.
It feels like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Ken Mejia Beal, trustee for Youth Outlook. Go to
Treasurer.
Sorry, did I do it again? Treasurer. I was so good for an hour.
You got my name right. That's all that matters at this point.
That's how I am sometimes. Treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org. We're going to continue our conversation with Tim Murray, Engy Suth, and Al Rago, who are running for trustee, and supervisor. You figure it out. No, we'll come back and talk more about that when we come back and go to yourvoiceforyork.com or yorkdemocrats.org to learn about their races. And we're talking about souls to the polls as well in just a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Sorry, Paul.
St. Patrick's Day begins March 10th at Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook. Don't wait until March 17th to get your North Shore's best corned beef and cabbage. Stop in beginning March 10th for lunch or dinner. Dine in or carry out. Meals come with red potatoes and carrots. Max and Benny's has catered meal packages to take out or eat in. You can go to maxandbennys.com to check out their special St. Patrick's Day menu. And don't forget, Max and Benny's special decorated cookies for St. Patrick's Day. Max and Benny's, open 7 days a week for great deli, soups, sandwiches, and dinners. Max and Benny's does catering with fish, deli, and delicious homemade dessert trays. Max and Benny's also has a special event space for over 100 people for catered events, parties, and special occasions. And Max and Benny's is your headquarters for all your Passover meals and Seders. Call Max and Benny's today to reserve your space for St. Patrick's Day. 847-272-9490. That's 847-272-9490.
Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored job feature helps you stand out and hire fast. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The Senate's now passed that 6-month funding bill avoiding a government shutdown. Democrats voiced frustration. Republicans went ahead with a measure that included little input from them. But ahead of the vote, their leader, Chuck Schumer, said,
As bad as the CR is, I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option.
Some cautious optimism from the Trump administration about a truce in the Russia-Ukraine war.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke a day after Trump envoy Steve Witkoff met in Moscow with Vladimir Putin.
We certainly feel like we're at least some steps closer to ending this war and bringing peace.
Ukraine supports a U.S. truce proposal. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says Putin gave Witkoff some messages for Washington, a day after the Russian leader said he backs the truce in principle, but needs more details before signing on.
It could come together pretty quickly if everyone aligns, but I don't know how aligned we are yet. That's what we're about to find out.
President Trump said this morning Ukrainian troops are surrounded by the Russian military in the Kursk region, which Kyiv's command denies, saying any statements like that are aimed at political manipulation and pressure. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Hamas says it's accepted a proposal for another hostage release. Our Julia Frankel in Jerusalem has details.
The militant group said it would free Idan Alexander, a soldier who was 19 when he was kidnapped from his base on the Gaza border. It said it would also release the remains of 4 other dual nationals who died in captivity. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu immediately cast doubt on the Hamas statement, saying that it marked psychological warfare and that the militant group in actuality was refusing to budge on the deal that Israel wants on the table, calling for Hamas to release half the remaining hostages for an extension of the ceasefire and the promise of a lasting truce in Gaza.
This is AP News. A 10-game slate in the NBA tonight. Last night, Gethin Coolbaugh reports one of the game's great long-range shooters charted new territory.
Stephen Curry is the inaugural member of the NBA's 4,000 three-pointer club. The NBA's all-time leader in threes became the first player to eclipse the 4K mark with 8:19 left in the third quarter of the Warriors' 130-104 rout of the Kings. In other NBA news, LeBron James flew back to California for treatment on his left groin strain and will miss the rest of the Lakers' 4-game road trip. And Spurs star guard De'Aaron Fox will miss the rest of the season with a tendon injury on his left hand that will require surgery. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And a heads up for next week, Major League Baseball gets an early start on its season in Japan. It's the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers against the Chicago Cubs, Tuesday and Wednesday at the Tokyo Dome. I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Megan Mulford. A wind advisory, a red flag warning remains in effect. A high wind warning begins at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Severe thunderstorms likely tonight, otherwise overcast skies. Lows around 57. South winds 20 to 25 miles an hour. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow. Highs level off around 65. Slight chance for rain showers becoming mixed precipitation. Tomorrow night, 34. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, 79.
When it comes to health, we're all on our own journey. Our challenges aren't always visible to those around us. You may be living with aches and pains, fatigue, shortness of breath, or other symptoms that make it difficult to manage everyday life. These problems can be the result of a variety of conditions, including long COVID, which 1 in 5 adults who've had COVID-19 may develop, according to the CDC. When symptoms linger, they could lead to feelings of isolation, but you don't have to go through it alone. For challenges like these, physical therapy is the solution. Physical therapists are the licensed healthcare providers moving you to better health. They can improve your quality of life through hands-on care, patient education, and prescribed movement. No matter where you are on your health journey, your physical therapist and physical therapist assistant can help. When we work together, we feel better together. So choose more movement. Choose better health. Choose physical therapy. Visit ChoosePT.com to find a physical therapist near you or ask your primary care provider for a referral. This message is provided by the American Physical Therapy Association.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. We're going to continue our conversation with the candidates for York Township Board of Trustees and the supervisor of York Township in just a moment, because we are so invested in local races. Ken Mejia Beal joins me in studio. He's the treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org and support their mission to help kids, help individuals live with dignity.
The kids, the parents, the it's a huge undertaking, and we do have a center in York Township.
Oh, there you go.
There you have
Excellent.
it.
Tomorrow, hey, Ken, you want to go on a road trip tomorrow? I'm going to Whitewater, Wisconsin, because it's Fibs for Wisconsin riding again. We're campaigning for Judge Susan Crowe.
I'll join you March 25th.
Ooh, I love that.
Not tomorrow.
Well, so I told Dan Shafer, our editor, publisher, writer for the Recombobulation Area and the political editor for Civic Media joins us. Dan, you're on with me and guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal. I don't ask people how they're doing. I ask if they're hydrated. Are you hydrating, Dan?
I'm not even doing that either. So,
I can't. This is so much.
No, I'm kidding. Lots of caffeine.
Oh my
Lots
God.
to do these days in Wisconsin.
That's not hydrating, Dan.
Yeah,
that's caffeinating.
It's a diuretic.
No,
also, I don't know why anyone needs to know that. But, so I try to tell folks every day not to react to every single story. And as a journalist, I mean, how do you focus on what you're going to share with your audience?
That's a great question. I mean, I think given what we're doing in Wisconsin right now at the Recombobulation Area and at Civic Media, it's really about, because we are a state and locally focused, publication and radio network and all that, it's about what's happening in Wisconsin. I think there's so many different places that we can, get information about what's happening nationally, channel the Trump outrage, whatever it might be. But Wisconsin, it's just such a busy political media environment at all times. Even though the presidential election is behind us, we are now just 18 days away from a spring election that is going to determine so much about the future of the state. And so, what's happening with the Trump-Musk administration, we're just focusing on kind of where the rubber meets the road. We did a great podcast piece, video podcast piece with former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who interviewed a federal worker whose job was eliminated by DOGE. So you can check that out at the Recombobulation Area this week. So we're really trying to make sure we've got, the state and local focus for what we're doing, and really understanding, trying to see where the rubber meets the road in all of the chaos and destruction that's coming from Donald Trump and from Elon Musk.
Oh my God.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I was grateful to see a social media post by Senator Tammy Baldwin talking about her disappointment, I believe, with the Democrats who are going to vote for the continuing resolution. We apologize on behalf of our Illinois senator. We don't. Well, we're not on behalf of him.
Yeah, we're not apologizing on behalf of him.
We apologize on behalf of Illinois.
Yes, there you go.
But I guess we're kind of like Wisconsin, because Ron Johnson obviously would.
Well, Ron Johnson is. I can't say how I feel about Ron Johnson on the air. Let's just put it that way.
Our favorite topic when it comes to Wisconsin, Dan.
I lived in Fitchburg, Dan, for about a year. So
okay.
I love Wisconsin.
You got to experience what it's like to have the worst, among the worst senators in the nation representing you.
It was. I felt bad every day I was there. Like, why, how did this happen?
Well, you know what's funny about that? Like, remember the days when we just didn't even know? Like, people just were like we were talking about being naive earlier about our electeds and just figuring they were doing what was right for people. Like, I didn't know who my state electeds were. I didn't know. My alderman came in when I was working at Subway sandwiches, and I'm like, oh, it's Roman Paczynski. Okay, I guess I'll give him a sandwich.
I had the luxury of living in Fitchburg, Wisconsin in 2016. So Ron Johnson was everywhere.
Oh, God.
Everywhere. In you could not escape him. Oh, I'm still traumatized.
The vote today with the government funding bill and the Democrats that did end up voting in favor of it, I think is a reminder to us in Wisconsin that it's not the National Democratic Party that is going to stand up. It's not Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats who are going to stand up and send a message to the Trump administration and to Elon Musk. So that means it's on us in Wisconsin. And we have this remarkable opportunity in front of us in just, less than 3 weeks. Early voting in Wisconsin starts next week. We have this remarkable opportunity here in this battleground swing state to send a message to Donald Trump, to Elon Musk, that we're to stop what they're doing, to really rein in what's happening. And I think if Wisconsin votes for Susan Crawford and defeats Brad Schimmel after Elon Musk has dumped tens of millions of dollars into this race to back Brad Schimmel, that's going to send a powerful message that's going to resonate nationally. If it was happening in, another, very red state or a very blue state that these votes would be happening, people might not be looking at it the same. But people are always going to be looking at statewide election results in Wisconsin. And I think so many people right now are seeing this race not just as critical to reproductive rights or labor rights or redistricting and so many of the other things that we've talked about over the years with state Supreme Court races in Wisconsin. But I think so many people right now are seeing this as a referendum on Donald Trump and perhaps more specifically a referendum on Elon Musk, because no one has put more money into this race on either side of the aisle than Elon Musk at this point. And, we can talk about, your governor in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, is putting a lot of money into this race. There's other big billionaire donors on the Democratic side that are putting a lot of money into this race. But nothing approaching what Elon Musk is doing, and nothing, and Elon Musk, given his central position in the Trump administration, we've never really seen anything like this. So I think if the right-wing Musk-backed candidate, Brad Schimmel, were to win this race, what's going to stop Elon Musk from throwing his money around in any other, state and local race to try and buy those seats? I think that this is a remarkable opportunity that the voters in Wisconsin have right now to hit the brakes on what's happening in Washington with Elon Musk in particular.
Are there any stories coming out of Wisconsin, like West Virginia? This woman was on the news talking about how she voted for Trump, and she's a federal worker. She didn't think she would be fired. Over 100 people in the agency that she was fired from also lost their jobs, and it's having an impact on their economy. Are there any stories like that out of Wisconsin where people are like, well, I didn't think they were going to do it to me?
I think, we're starting to see the beginning of that. Like, there's been so much confusion about, people are fired and then it's reinstated. And there's a lot of jobs, particularly with the U.S. Department of Agriculture across Wisconsin. That was one of the people that we had on the podcast this week at the Recombobulation Area to talk about this. Just like all of the back and forth and whatever. And then there's, there was one story that is kind of in that vein a little bit, but there was a veteran who was fired from the VA in western Wisconsin and was reaching out to his congressman, Republican Derek Van Orden. And Van Orden just teed off on him on social media and just to say hey, you shouldn't be, posting on social media about your job. You should get back to work. Well, it was a guy who was fired from his job and was just asking his congressman for more information. It was just, I think the response to this and the lack of, public access that any of these Republican congressmen in Wisconsin are granting after, so many people showed up at those town halls a few weeks ago. It's just, it's such a bizarre environment right now because they're kind of I actually had Derek Van Orden, the Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden, called me a communist on Twitter because I suggested that maybe he should have a town hall and own up to these decisions that Republicans are making and just really, face the voters, face the public.
I'm sorry, Ken.
No, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm being singled out.
Anytime
yes.
you are called a communist or a socialist or whatever other terms they throw at you on social media, you're doing something great.
You know what I say this.
Have you no sense of decency, sir?
That's where we are now. That's what the back and forth when we talked yesterday about Congresswoman McBride, yeah, who was misgendered, right? Repeatedly, and the legislator from Massachusetts said, "Have you no decency?" We're back there, and that is Wisconsin, Dan. Right?
Yeah. No, it is.
Sorry,
Wisconsin is we're always the canary in the coal mine for everything.
That is true.
Yeah, that's McCarthy.
That is true.
I believe the Harry Houdini Museum and the Joe McCarthy Museum are pretty much right next to each other. In Appleton, Wisconsin. I'm not.
That's true.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I really do have a fascination that's too deep to explain about Wisconsin, don't I, Dan?
It's true. It's true. No one. You are the true champion of fibs for Wisconsin.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I wear that badge proudly. Dan, what are you working on next for your readers and for folks who need to know more about Wisconsin?
Yeah, we're really gearing up for the spring election here. Again, we're less than 20 days away. So April 1st, early voting will get started next week. We had an event this week in Madison that I was a part of on a panel, moderating a panel. And then we also took a look at the debate that happened. The only debate that happened for the Wisconsin Supreme Court race between Judge Susan Crawford and the Musk-backed candidate, Brad Schimmel. And I thought Susan Crawford did a terrific job with that debate. She was very much in command, had Schimmel reeling in a lot of instances. So, still reacting to that debate, still talking about what's ahead of us. But I think, it's getting down to crunch time. And I know, Patti, you and I talked so much 2 years ago about the race, the state Supreme Court race that was won by Janet Protasiewicz. We had a friend of the Recombobulation Area, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, posting about it. There was a lot of interest and fanfare and all of that. And we are, I think we're so exhausted in Wisconsin after the election last year, after everything that's been happening these last couple months as Trump's return to office. But we got to get back to the polls. We have to vote in this spring election, and we have such an opportunity to send a message and make a difference.
I'm trying so hard to be enthusiastic because I'll be back. Fibs for Wisconsin rides again tomorrow. I'll be in Whitewater. We've got a bunch of not just volunteers, but a lot of students who I've been grateful to connect with and support. So I'll be door knocking tomorrow in Walworth County because I love the door knock. I was in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, Dan, and it was kind of a drop in and drop out, but it was a packed room. I will tell you for volunteers.
And that's all that matters.
Indivisible Evanston. Swing State, Operation Swing State. Yeah. So, folks are coming in. And so.
That's right.
Early voting in Wisconsin.
It's on us now.
That's right. Early voting starts.
It's on us now. Senator Chuck Schumer's not going to be the one to stand up and send a message. So it's on the voters in Wisconsin to do it.
Absolutely.
Got to be up to the task.
Dan, you're extraordinary. And I'm so grateful for this relationship, for the collaboration and all the work that you and the journalists that you work with do. Thank you so much. I can't express that more strongly. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Everyone subscribe.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Subscribe to the Recombobulation Area's Substack. Don't just subscribe. Be a paid subscriber. Support them. Local journalism is now where it's at. And by the way, folks, we are now the journalists. Record this. Mark what's happening right now in our communities. Thank you, Dan. Have a great weekend, okay? We'll talk to you next week.
You too. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And follow him on all the social medias. Blue Sky. I don't go to Twitter anymore, but he's on Blue Sky. I don't do that. I can't.
No more Twitter.
Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation we're going to continue our conversations. I'm sorry. He's got good news. A friend of mine's daughter just got in the Lane Tech, and I'm very happy for them. Yay! Congratulations, Emma. Let's take a quick break here. Continue our conversation with candidates from York Township. We've got our friends Engy, Tim, and Al. More when we come back with our guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I didn't even say hello to our friends on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's a lot going on. Thank you to our sponsors, Source Solar, Monaco Brewing Company, Are You Really Winning, and Kids Above All.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Zeke, self-employed, called to refinance his $1 million home after being rejected by 3 lenders. Zeke contacted me after hearing me explain how I helped another self-employed listener who was also rejected due to lack of income. I helped Zeke secure an $800,000 cash-out refinance using the 12-month average of Zeke's business bank statements. Let's review. Zeke called to refinance his home after being rejected by 3 lenders, and we help Zeke refinance using the deposits into his business bank statements. If you're self-employed and want to work with mortgage professionals who understand self-employed borrowers, call Team Hochberg at 855-563-2843 or visit 56steven.com. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of self-employed listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 and that website you love, 56steven.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 112461.
Thanks to the Biden-Harris administration's prescription drug law, people with Medicare now have lower costs and more benefits, including a $35 monthly cap on covered insulin, free recommended vaccines, and a brand new $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket drug costs beginning in January. Finally, thanks to the law, Medicare is now negotiating directly with drug companies, resulting in new, lower prices for 10 of the most expensive and most prescribed drugs in Medicare. Learn more at lowerdrugcosts.gov.
Sponsored by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And hello to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. We've got a great panel of guests in studio with us. Guest co-hosting today is Ken Mejia Beal. I know we're going to get to we're going to continue our conversation with our guests from York Township running for the Board of Trustees. Tim Murray's running for supervisor. Engy Sutherland is running for trustee, as is Al Rago, both trustees. But I want to get to a caller who's been on hold for over an hour. I know I don't want to keep you on hold anymore. Steve is a friend of the show. Well, this is Steve from Des Plaines, who returned to school. He's a veteran, right, Steve? Tell us a little bit more about your journey. What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, for your guest, I'm 71. I just went back to Northeastern to finish my second 2 years. I was going after the Marine Corps in 76. I got discharged, and I went for 2 years, and things happened in life, and I never got back. And I went into the trades and learned the bricklaying and tuck pointing and all the different trades. And this point now at 71, it's been kind of itching at me. And I was driving down Foster Avenue one day, and I just pulled in the parking lot. And 2 hours later, I was registered for the spring semester. And in fact, today starts the first day of spring break, and I'm like a kid again. I'm on spring break from school, so it's very exciting.
Everyone in the studio loves this story, Steve. Yeah. So what's on your mind today? What's weighing on you?
Talk about this idea that people, the Trump humpers, who I need to watch my language.
That was awesome.
No, we're all very happy. Not all. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I saw two people react.
Happy.
Yeah, Ken's happy. I believe other candidates might be happy as well.
Yeah. I could do a lot better than that, but I won't right now. But anyway, this thing about that they're nasty and mean and pissed off still after winning everything. They took the whole table. And what I've noticed in my Trump humper friends, and I have about 2 or 3 who are like dyed-in-the-wool cultists. Like, even my sister is kind of shaded in that way, so I'm kind of surrounded. And I noticed, I've said to them, I've laid down the law, we don't talk about it. That's the solution. We just don't talk about it. And then we can get through this next couple of years, and life goes on. And I don't want to destroy relationships. But I've noticed that every once in a while, a couple have to put in a little snarky comment about Musk or what they're doing. A little snarky. And I said, stop. And then they'll shut up and they'll come back an hour later or something. And I gotta think there's some sort of weird insecurity that they have. On some level, they don't realize it. They might know on some level that they're barking up the wrong tree or whatever kind of cinnamon or fable you can say to capture the deal here, that they just seem to have this kind of like irksome requirement to like be snarky. And I think it comes down to some sort of insecurity that they may know that they bought the wrong car and they're stuck with it.
Maybe. I know that one of our guests is nodding. I don't know. I think that's part of it, but it's also the smugness and the joy. Yeah. And they think that like we're unhappy. Here's the thing, like the idea that like libs are crying or whining or all these other things, like it's to me like you hate empathy. You hate people that want to make lives better for everyone in our communities. Like that makes you angry that we believe in that.
With vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
it's interesting. Like with Musk, with the talk about empathy, it's like, well, then okay, as he goes down in flames with his businesses and they start whining, well, we don't give you empathy. You don't believe in it. Isn't that what he talked about? That empathy is overrated, Western civilization.
Yeah, Musk just said this the other day on Joe Rogan. He said, and at any rate, Steve, I love what you've shared with us, and I'm so glad you hung on the line with us.
No, Patty, for you, my patience is eternal. My patience is eternal. Hey, listen, one last thing. The previous caller, Roosevelt, I believe his name is.
Yes.
He's one of us, of course, but I think we need to stop with the regurgitating the last election and this and that and other. It's over. In the election, they won. They won. With it, there might be shade, but we need to move forward, get in the trenches, and get out our brass knuckles and go forward.
Yeah, that's something I struggle with because I know people have sent me a lot of information about Greg Palast's documentary, and I've had him on the show, and it's like, okay. Yeah. I can't. I mean, like, there's nothing I can do about that. I can only. It's not. Here's what it is. And a friend of mine told me this shortly before she passed away in 2001. Diana Limo, tremendous comedian. I was like regretting choices I'd made. She goes, "Stop it. It's not about what's happened. It's about what you're going to do." And that is where we are, and I carry that with me every day. And I think that's what you have in your passion too. Thank you, Steve. Yes, go ahead, Ken.
And just to
thank you,
because I do agree with Steve. I think for some people it is so hard to fathom that this actually happened that they have to. Because I do believe conspiracy theories come out of necessity. It comes from a place of trying to comfort our own brain. So I do believe there is a large fragment of folks out there that simply have to go back to the election because none of this makes sense to them.
Look, as somebody's... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm done.
No, that's to someone's point earlier that I had gone door knocking, and it wasn't that I was surprised. I was disappointed. I was heartbroken. Yeah. Surprise aren't the same thing. And I immediately just switched to, okay, now how do I manage this? And that's where I've been ever since. And I just can't live in the... To our point earlier, Engy, about how there are people who are smarter than us, surely they're doing the right thing. Like, at some point, I also have to go, like, if it was that egregious or if there was something I could do, there are certainly people in power, whether it's Obama or Hillary or Kamala, like whoever, Tim Walz, like all these people. Somebody, Jack Smith, like somebody. Like, there's nobody in this entire universe of powerful people that aren't finding a way to unravel that. Then what am I supposed to do? I can't live in what should have been.
Correct.
So, I'll be honest. I feel like being part of this race has given me a really nice distraction about what's going on federally, nationally, because here I am devoting my time and committing to something that I can impact in the local community.
Yeah.
And it's so helpful.
Yes.
It's been like a nice like mental health like refresh for me, is because now I can focus on something that's going to matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about what you're doing.
And I'll kind of coin the phrase frustrated nationally, fight back, vote locally.
Yes! Well, that's it. All right, we have to take a break here, and I want to find out from Al what actually inspired the catalyst for him getting involved, because we talk about transparency and what happens at township level and sort of fudging things a little bit. And I use fudging. Share. Yeah, excellent. We'll continue our conversation. We have in studio with us, guest co-hosting today is Ken Mejia Beal. He is a treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org and support their mission to make sure that people feel supported. So I I want to talk to you more about that. I know that we won't have time tonight, but you have to come back and guest co-host again. And I want to make sure that people are getting involved and know about events that are coming up. Do you guys have a float for the Pride Parade this year, or is there any way we can support what you're doing for Pride?
For Pride?
Yes.
I believe that we will not have a float. We usually are walking on foot because we are the little people.
Well, I can walk with you. I'll run back and forth. I know.
Well, I'm usually working with WCPT though,
Then come walk with me.
Parades scare me.
Fair.
Yeah, they scare me.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Also joining us in studio are candidates for York Township. We have Tim Murray, who's running for supervisor of York Township, Engy Sutherland, who's running for trustee, and Al Rago, who's also running for trustee. We'll take a break here, come back and continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Megan Mulford. A wind advisory, a red flag warning remains in effect. A high wind warning begins at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Severe thunderstorms likely tonight, otherwise overcast skies. Lows around 57. South winds 20 to 25 miles an hour. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, highs level off around 65. Slight chance for rain showers becoming mixed precipitation. Tomorrow night, 34. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, 78.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Teachers are dynamic leaders, shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Achieving this takes skill and expertise. They're tireless explorers, creatively discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, experimenting, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, and connecting with each other. Leading by example. Experience the unique joy of helping students thrive. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready to begin? Explore teaching at teach.org, a campaign supported by the U.S. Department of Education, teach.org, and 1 million teachers of color.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Hello to our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Joining me in studio is guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal. He's a treasurer for Youth Outlook. Go to youth-outlook.org and support their mission. We have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to uplift. You can swing that over.
And I appreciate that. And don't forget March 20th, which is next Thursday.
Yes, Skeleton Key.
Trivia night, Skeleton Key, 90s trivia, fun stuff.
Excellent. To be fair, I was an adult by the time the 90s rolled around. That's so weird to say out loud. I'm fine. Engy Sutherland, what year did you graduate? Can I ask from...
Graduate
U of I.
2005.
And you said 85. So class of 93.
I'm a couple years older than Engy.
I kind of love the range of years we have here. So that's Engy Sutherland, who's running for Board of Trustees for York Township. We have Tim Murray, who's running for Supervisor of York Township. And Al Rago, who's running for Trustee. Everyone's always excited when I say their names, right? Because you're not wrong. I'm often wrong. Tim, where did you go to? So you went right to from high school to being a chef.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you mentioned you went to California. Where in California did you go to work to like get ahead of where Chicago was in the culinary industry?
Small stop in the foothills of Lake Tahoe, and then with economics, I chose Bakersfield for my apprenticeship.
When you say economics,
So
affordability.
Bakersfield being the least cost of living in California, while it had a national apprenticeship program which had national standards. So I was able to go through an apprenticeship program just like anybody else, whether you were in LA or you were in San Francisco. But my cost of living, because I was on my own, was very low being in Bakersfield.
Wow. I love that. Now, just before I continue our conversation about the politics of...
I was just going to say, I was watching a new show on Netflix called Raising Point or something with Kate Hudson, and there's a joke about Bakersfield, so thank you for bringing, because I was like, I don't get the joke, because one of the NBA players lived in Baker, and they kept saying, well, you live in, and I was like, I don't get the joke, so thank you.
But quickly, how is that show?
Really funny.
Okay, good.
Really funny.
It looks great.
It is.
I love it.
It's awesome.
I love the actors on that show, including Kate Hudson. Before we ask Al a few questions and come back to Engy as well, The Bear, how do you like the show? Do you watch it on Hulu?
Love The Bear. I could take it in 1 or 2 episodes only because I get a little bit of
Triggered?
PTSD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. So this story's for another time because it's not about this. But yes. Same, because I worked in a lot of restaurants. I was telling somebody the other day, like when I would work a double shift as a server, like I could not get rid of the sound of clacking dishes and being yelled at, and like even 20, 30 years later, I'm like, I can't. Yeah, it's a lot. It's aggressive. It's very aggressive. Now, Al, as a mechanical engineer, yes, go ahead. No, Al, as a mechanical engineer, at what point does that sort of intersect with the idea that you realize, wait, nothing is adding up when it comes to how your township is managing their finances?
Well, not only was I graduated as a mechanical engineer, worked in the automotive industry for about 5 years, maybe 7, and then I switched over to IT. And I've been a consultant the entire time since I graduated. Consulting is problem solving. And you come into situations and you try to figure out what's going on. That's how the connection happens with your township. You start to see how they're doing things, and you're like, why are they doing it like that?
Right.
It's almost like their strategy is to hide what they're doing. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what they're doing. And then the more you dig, the more you find.
You mentioned that you didn't even know there was this other layer of municipality on top of your community.
Yeah.
And like, how do we communicate that to people? As a problem solver going forward, would that be part of what you want to do for your community?
And that's what we do when we're knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of times you have to explain what the township is first, and then what they do, right? The township exists for 3 reasons: general aid, tax assessment, and the unincorporated road system, right? Okay. So York Township manages like 30 miles of roads. They do it with a $4 million budget, and they spend about 3 times the amount of money that most other townships spend per mile.
What?
Per managed lane, yeah. They spend almost 3 times more. We have all kinds of problems like that. The story I wanted to tell you, though, was about the surprise garage that happened last year. So they came out of the annual meeting, and they go into the May meeting, and they only publish the agenda to what the law says. It has to be published in a public place 48 hours before the meeting. So they post it like Sunday night, but the township hall is closed until 7:30 in the morning. Then you can see the agenda and the budget that's going to be voted on in that meeting. Part of the budget was the supervisor is presenting paperwork to show that we are going to build a garage for the maintenance vehicles and the senior ride program for $1.44 million. It's budgeted, and by the way, the contractor's here. Oh. So if anybody has any questions. Well, most of these meetings are not attended by anybody. So then they just blow through the agenda, vote. We're in, we're out, and all this stuff gets approved. Now, where did the $1.44 million come from? What other things were they not doing, and how did they come up with the money for that to just build the garage? Well, the garage just got built. Right? $1.44 million. By the way, through FOIA Freedom of Information Act requests, we find out that the contractor is a donor to the supervisor.
No!
Boom!
Oh, yes.
What?
Follow the money.
So you got transparency, you got ethics, you got it all in one story. It's all there. All kinds of other things that we could talk about. So again, like I said, how much time do you have?
Well, I love this conversation so much, and we were talking about, so as Al mentioned, part of communicating with people about the role of the township is going to the doors. Engy, what are you finding out? Like, I'm guessing it's a wide range of explain the township, and also my garbage cans aren't being picked up, like that kind of thing. What are you encountering on the doors?
Similar things to Al, like people don't know that they're in York Township, and someone asked me like, "Oh, are you running against like this Lombard trustee or this Villa Park trustee?" We're like, "Oh, no, different race. We're not competing against them. York Township is, another form of government. We're only up for election every 4 years, so there's no staggered terms. So, you could go 4 years without thinking about the election for York Township for all of those positions. So, and then the other thing that breaks my heart is that they didn't even know there was an election coming up. And so we have to explain to them oh, this is the election for your municipal. So your village president, your mayor, your school board, and your park district, it's all the same election. We were also on it too. So it's getting that information to them, which they appreciate. And after talking, they're like, oh, well, we definitely need to vote. And then I always bring in okay, by the way, if you're going on spring break, make sure you vote early.
Yeah, which is on what day? What's early voting?
March 17th, on Monday.
And folks can also get their mail-in ballots.
Yeah, they should be out already. I know I got mine, so.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't. So as when you do win your elections, because that's how we talk when we manifest.
When we win.
When we win, what would you say would be an asset, Tim, as a supervisor? What would you want to do to make sure that people are aware of the function of the York Township Board of Trustees and the work you do?
Well, I think the first thing that we would do is a needs assessment and be able to bring people in and ask them what are their needs, because the needs definitely have changed and they are going to change in the future due to federal cuts. The local government, our township, gets its money from the real estate, so we will not be affected by any federal cuts, but we're going to have to do a lot more with the money that we have.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a key for us. And the way that I look at our slate is that every single person on this slate is going to be rolling up their sleeves and acting in the trenches to help us innovate services and communicate to our township. The township itself, as Engy and Al have said, and I've knocked on doors myself, people are not aware that there's a township. They're like, well, what does... Yeah, and I literally had a person say, hey, I vote for the village president. I'm already voting for him. And I had to explain that the township was an overlay of where you live. Yeah. It was just amazing how...
and actually, the townships predate all of the cities in the state.
Yeah, well, so we talked about Maine Township a few weeks ago, because I was like, what even is... So Maine Township is still an entity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I didn't even... I live right next door to Maine Township.
Yeah.
And
most of Illinois was rural.
Right.
Right?
So
And so all these townships were farm communities.
Yeah.
And so they got together. The state law passed in 1850.
Yeah.
For all the township formation. And so they were created for the three things I said earlier, right? For general assistance, for building roads, right? Because how would you build roads? Most people didn't.
Right.
Farmers would just ride their horses wherever, right? So building roads and then collecting taxes so that you can build the roads, right?
Oh, man.
And
so that's what
general
townships were there
assistance,
for.
too.
Yeah.
Is general assistance like welfare, like food,
Yes.
food co-ops and
if somebody
pantries?
needs help with rent, with utility bills, food. We have a food pantry. The hours are 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, 11 to 9.
Oh, did you hear? Addison yesterday were telling us it's 1 hour a week.
Yes.
But 1 hour a week.
I know. We're way more than that. But
we
it's
thought we
still
were
hard
bad.
for,
But but it doesn't help families, working families, right? If you can only go between 9 and 11.
Yeah. You've got to look at weekends. You've got to
yeah.
look at early evening.
Yeah.
You've got to look at when the person's getting off work and they could get to
That's if you want people to avail
township.
themselves of services. Again, what's the strategy of the current administration? Right? Is to just not provide as little service as possible and absorb as much of that tax dollars. They have 33 people working at the township. Nobody knows what they do.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Oh, so we saw in one of the local newspapers, Elmhurst Patch. I don't know if you call it the Patch a newspaper, but anyway, they actually posted back in December how much of the money allocated for general assistant was actually used for general assistance, and in York Township, only 40%. 60% was spent on salaries overhead.
No!
Yes.
Well,
and it's already a small part of the overall budget. What did we say? It was like 7%?
7.5%.
We'll drill it down a little further for you.
Of the 7.5% of the overall budget. The overall budget for the township is over $5 million. General assistance is $440,000.
Yeah.
And 2/3 of that is administrative costs.
Yeah.
2/3.
Yeah. So they're barely providing services.
And yet they can't afford to have a food pantry open more than 2 hours a day.
See, Ken, these are the maddening
Well,
things.
and what I will say, and this is so important for you guys, is the average person has no idea because we're busy like working and taking care of kids, and this is why they get away with it, because we're busy. And they take advantage. Like, we are busy. Yes. Yeah.
And they don't make an effort to get that information to those busy people.
They don't want anybody to know.
They don't record their meetings, so you can't watch them after the fact. They're not live streamed.
That's my question. Would you live stream?
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
All of those normal functions, Patty, that a government does, we will do, which is live stream, which is placing our minutes, placing information on the website, making the website functional. One of the things that I'll bring up to you is
all of that on the website.
As I've been a user of the township, my in-laws lived with us, and I had to call the township for services. I call up there. I need somebody to take my mother-in-law to the doctors. They have a car service that will do that. And it was amazing. Well, I shouldn't say amazing. It was just surprising that it just doesn't work. They're in the old days. By the time the people got back to me, and only one person manages that, they couldn't put it on the website. They don't have anybody else there that'll take care of it but one person. By the time they got back to me, that doctor's appointment had come and gone. They have, if you look at the website or you look at a piece of paper, they have things listed, but the execution, and you know this from working in the hospitality industry, it's all about execution.
Yeah.
And you've got to do that with style, and you've got to make the person feel good.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Also, I got a message from Jerry who wanted me to remember to talk about Souls of the Polls. We were talking about early voting starting on March 17th. Mail-in ballots are now available if you request them. Make sure you get them. But Souls of the Polls, how do folks make sure that if someone needs a ride, needs more information, who has that info? You guys know about Souls of the Polls?
We don't know about Souls of the Polls.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sounds
like we want to.
So it's not my thing. But Souls of the Polls is an organization. Maybe it's for Wisconsin. For folks who, I'm not sure, Jerry. I don't have the info in front of me. So I'll come to Souls of the Polls in a moment. So Souls of the Polls is an organization across the country that makes sure that people have a ride. A lot of folks who maybe don't have a vehicle or are a little bit physically challenged and need someone to help them out. So I'll get the Souls of the Polls information in just a moment and come back.
If I could interject one thing. We talked earlier about the lawsuit. So if we have one more minute.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going
to come back and still talk to you, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how much time we had.
Take this minute. Go ahead.
The clerk illegally tried to stop Tim from being on the ballot. He rejected his application.
We know the fun in that, don't we, Ken?
Yeah. And so they know that the only way to stop that from happening is we have to hire a lawyer and go to the courts and get an injunction in order to get him back on the ballot. So they intentionally did this to try and first intimidate Tim to not run, then on top of that, make us spend money that we may or may not have. Thankfully, the local Democrats rallied behind us and contributed a lot of money to help us pay for those legal fees. But the kicker is, they did that knowing that the only person who benefits is a supervisor who wants to run unopposed, and they used our tax dollars to fund their legal fees.
Yeah. So are people responding to these messages on the doors? Are they going? Like it's a lot because sometimes when you're explaining, people their eyes glaze over. Like it's got to be
Democrats out there. If you're not enraged, I'm hoping we're helping you.
Well, are you
get out to the polls?
So with your the turf that you get, is it are you on minivan? Is that what you're using?
Yeah.
So are you so you're getting a lot of Dems, but are you getting anybody maybe split households? I mean, I'm curious about
sure.
but are you getting people who are like angry about what's their vote at all, or like we need to make sure that more Dems are elected? Are you getting that reaction now, the energy?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, last weekend I got fist pump after fist pump, and all people wanted to know was, is this whole group Democrats? I said, yeah. Fist pump, and that was it. That was they were pumped. And if I didn't get that, again, I got a person who was like, what's a township?
Yeah.
And then once I explained that, they're like, oh yeah, I'll vote for that.
I had one old hippie, my age, but tattooed, long hair, certain aroma coming out of his
Hippies are
house.
older than you. I'm just saying, but go ahead.
I'm just saying.
Hippies are fun.
The guy was hysterical. He opens the door, I hand him the thing, I tell him what we're doing, and he goes, "Ha! I didn't even know there were Democrats left anymore." Yeah. He says, "This is great."
Traditionally, DuPage and York Township has been very, very red. As you can tell, the township government has been Republican this entire time. So I think people are realizing that it is changing. Yeah.
Blue.
I did get a woman at the. Actually, I had two really long conversations while door knocking. And they were both with Republicans. So what happened was we had, say, like a young adult child that lives at that household, but the parents were Republican. And so when I knocked on the door, I got the parent, and they were interested. Like, what are you running for? Oh, York Township. And wait, are you part of the Republican slate? I'm like, no, we're the Democrats. And they said that even though they were Republican, that they would consider voting for our slate because they're even upset with with the government themselves. And they had some crazy Republican caucus, and they had two sides fighting each other. So there's some kind of rift right now in the
local.
It's been there for. It's been there. It's just that now at the federal level, I think it's exacerbated a little bit.
Yeah.
We are in studio with our friends from York Township, running for the Board of Trustees and Supervisor. In studio with us, we have Engy Suth, who's running for Board of Trustees of York Township. We also have Al Rago running for trustee, the board township of the York Township, and we have Tim Murray, who's running for supervisor. We are going to round up. We're just going to close out in just a moment. I'm going to have to say sorry to Paul in Seattle because I don't think we're really good. Sorry, Paul. I'll talk to you in a moment off the air. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Question: where were you on May 3rd, 2005? If you were listening to the radio, you may have heard the first day on the air for WCPT. On Saturday, May 3rd, WCPT is celebrating 20 years on the air with a big live broadcast from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll be at Max and Benny's restaurant in Northbrook, and WCPT listeners can attend this special 4-hour broadcast. Al Sparks will kick off the celebration with the WCPT broadcast team. Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patti Vasquez, and Scott Duff, as well as surprise guests from our 20-year history. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary, and you're invited to come and celebrate with us. To register for this special event, go to WCPT.com and click on the WCPT anniversary banner. Seating is limited and will sell out quickly. Go to WCPT.com today to register. See you on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Max and Benny's in Northbrook.
So spread the word that WCPT is just great.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you for driving it home with us. In studio with me is guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal, the treasurer of Youth Outlook. I said it right this time.
youth-outlook.org.
Thank you very much for that.
You said it right.
I did. Thank you very much.
You're doing good.
We're almost done with I was going to do Whiskey to Cookie tonight, so I do a after show podcast kind of a thing, but I'm tired and I want to go home and eat pizza. Is that wrong?
No.
It's
Friday.
Right? Okay. So tell me. So Engy, let me ask you this: in York Township, who's got the best thin crust, crispy pizza? You didn't think you were going to ask that? Look at that.
So okay, I have been in the area 5 years, and I have been prioritizing.
You can say this
Elmhurst.
neighborhood. Would you like over here is also acceptable, by the way. So if you had to and not no shade to York Township, I'm just saying Phil's Pizza's not bad. Joe's on Higgins is pretty good. Frank's on Belmont is. I'm just saying. If you have any competitors,
if you like thin crust.
Okay, so I'm going to admit something that's probably going to get me yelled at. My pizza of choice is Detroit style. Okay, no. Al just shook his head.
Hey,
I do love.
That's okay, Angie.
That's okay.
That's okay. I'm still okay to be on the slate.
Caramelized edges. Okay.
It's delicious. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Jets, and my husband makes fun of me for it.
You can grab a Jets right down the street here in Jefferson Park. There's a Jets over.
There is a Jets.
You're right.
Milwaukee and Foster. I'm just saying.
So there's no Jets that delivers to my house in Elmhurst, and it makes me so sad. So I might have to pick up some Jets.
Well, here I'm gonna help you turn this around. What's your favorite restaurant in York Township? Where do you take the family?
Oh, my favorite restaurant in York Township. Okay, so one of our favorite things to do is to go out for breakfast with the family, and we do really like Stray Hen in Elmhurst. It's such a cute little place and has delicious food and great service. You just have to make sure you get there before the mad brunch rush. So we try to get there 8 a.m. I mean, I got kids; they get up early. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Tim, do you want to do pizza or your favorite place to eat? What's your go-to
favorite place to eat?
Yeah, Mr. Chef.
It's a twofold.
Yeah,
Brooks. And anyways,
oh my God! The look of
place.
satisfaction on everyone's face, they tasted it when you said it. Okay,
Brooks is amazing.
Brooks, okay.
And they hosted our fundraiser.
They did.
They hosted our fundraiser.
Nice.
Great food, and then anyways is that community place. There's I could
anyways
walk in.
Is the name of the place?
Anyways pub. It's on Roosevelt.
I can walk in there.
It's a perfect name.
I will meet somebody. There will be somebody there. That is a neighborhood place.
That's going to be my new question for people. Where'd you grow up and where do you eat? Where do you eat, Al?
Obviously, I know I have a face and a body for radio, but
Stop.
Where I like to eat, when my wife and I go out to dinner, we like to go to Avanzare, which is a nice Italian place in local, and then Brooks Kitchen neighborhood place. Pizza. Still go to Roberto's in Elmhurst. So.
All right. Ken, I'm not going to leave you out of this. You got a place out in the York Township that you
I love Brooks. They have great pierogies.
Come
they
on
do
now.
have really
so
good
hungry.
pierogies.
Why am I so hungry? Why am I so hungry?
I mean, I like there's another place I like, but the owners are not my people, so I'm not going to give them a shout out. No.
Well, to learn more,
we'll talk after we leave.
To learn more about our candidates in the studio, Tim Murray, who's running for supervisor of York Township, and we also have Engy Sutherland, who's running for trustee, and Al Rago for trustee. Go to yourvoiceforyork.com and yorkdemocrats.org, and also our friend Guido Nardini is the Elmhurst councilman, who you guys probably know. Yeah. He went to Milwaukee's Souls of the Polls, and we'll share more information about that next week. That was the information that I wanted. So
awesome.
Souls of the Polls,
there
you guys
go.
We want to learn more.
Yeah, and Souls of the Polls, wi.org for folks who need information about Wisconsin, Souls of the Polls. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're so grateful for your time, and I don't think there's going to be a whiskey and a cookie tonight. I know. Paul Shabari, thank you for everything you do. We have Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Good night, everybody. Have a great week.
Tired of all those talking heads down the dial who think they're always right?
People need to just calm down. It's gotten ridiculous.
Welcome to WCPT